listening to The Small Bites. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. We're sponsored today by Joe's Underground at 144 8th Street in Augusta, Georgia, down in the basement of the Lamar Building. So now sit back, listen to the randomness that just goes through my head. Don't forget, enjoy The Small Bites. Thanks for listening tonight. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. You're listening to The Small Bites. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, the emotion fear. Now, a few years ago, I had a chance to work at a haunted house here in Augusta, Georgia, called Plantation Blood. Being a people watcher, this was kind of like going from T-ball to the big leagues. I could see the worst and best in people right here. So I said, hell yeah, I'm going to work here. So my role pretty much was to work outside of this place. And what I did was I dressed up in a pair of ratty blue jeans and the shirt from a gorilla costume, and my makeup was all done from scratch, nothing store-bought. This girl took 2 hours to do this makeup, but it was so awesome. I was terrifying. Well, what I would do is kind of warm up the crowd. I'd go out there and just walk up behind people sometimes. I would go, grrr, and scare them. And other times, I'd just stand there until they just felt something behind them and they'd turn around and see me. And the reactions were always priceless. I never got anyone that wasn't scared. I always seemed to hit my mark. Now, I learned there are different ways that people deal with fear. Now, with men, the majority of men say, oh, I'm going to punch somebody if I get scared. Don't scare me. 99% of them, that is a lie. That 1% will hit you, but yeah, it's the chance you take. Now, the main two types of guys who get scared are type A, the guy who may scream, but you don't hear it till about 5 seconds after he's ran away because he's moved so fast. Running so fast he looks like he has a tail like a comet. Leaves the woman he's with. I mean, she just might as well get an Uber because that's just all there is to it. She is lonely now. Second type guy, he'll scream and get about 10 feet away and realize, oh shit, I walked away. I left her there. And he'll stop and turn around and try and play it all cool, like, yeah, I knew you wasn't nothing, man. You didn't scare me. But he might as well catch the cab with the other guy because he might as well go home alone tonight too. Now, women, there are a lot more reactions. You know, you get the basic woman who just straight locks up. I mean, just freezes right there and tightens every muscle in her body, draws up into the shape of a California raisin. Everything's so tight right now. She may let loose when you walk away, kind of doubtful. You get type 2, who is going to scream and make a fuss for about 10 seconds. Then she's going to grab your arm and pull you over to her friend just so you can scare the piss out of her friend. This brings us to type 3. Now, type 3 is the kind of woman that will kill you very rapidly if you're not careful. You can walk up behind type 3. Don't matter if you go raw or just stand there and let her sense you being there. When she finds out you're there, she's going to start snatching off earrings, rings, necklaces, going to untuck her shirt, going to put her hair up in a bun, may even take a wig off, there ain't no telling, going to take her coat off. She ain't doing nothing but streamlining. Now, she may run, and she's going to run to the parking lot if she does. Either way, don't follow her. And if she don't run, get away, because all she's doing is hunting room to whip your ass. And she will do it because eventually fight or flight turns into let's kick that gorilla's ass. We also had an area of the haunt called the Swamp. And it was kind of between two of the buildings. We'd made it up to look like a little redneck swamp area. Had a couple of little buildings you had to walk through. And my proudest moment there was I made a woman, there was a ramp going up into one of the buildings. I made a woman piss all the way up that ramp. And ultimately, that's a haunt actor's goal, is to make somebody pee on themselves. That's when you know you have done it, and you've done it right. You've given them their money's money's worth. True, they're going to go home with wet huggies, but hey, they paid for it. Now, we also had a room there. It was called the clown room. It was actually 2 rooms. The second room was full of people made up as clowns. And, it was cool. It didn't take a lot of talent. I mean, if you're scared of clowns, you're scared of clowns no matter what they're doing. Some of these guys went a little too far, wouldn't get off the people, wouldn't get away from them when they'd had enough. Whatever, that's their thing. The other part of the clown room was when you first walked in, it was all with black light, and there was neon stuff painted on the walls, little barrels sitting around. And we had a guy who was about 3.5 foot tall. They dressed him up like a clown and sat him on top of one of those barrels, and he would sit there limp. And he looked like a stuffed clown. He looked like a clown doll. Now, this little bastard would scare me every time I would walk through there, and I knew he was there. At least twice a night, he got full-on man-punched, knocked off of his barrel, because he scared people. It was awesome. Now, you a scared sumbitch when you would punch a dwarf in the face. I learned so much about human reactions to fear at this thing. It was such a great experience. I had a ball. Learned to look inside and see what my fears were. We'll do those on a different podcast. I hope you enjoyed this edition of the Small Bites. It was brought to you by Joe's Underground, 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, on the basement of the Lamar Building. I goes to Joe's. You go too. Y'all have a good night. This has been the Small Bites. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Make sure you hit subscribe. Until next time, I'm out.